So let's start off with this one first. I hate when videos don't load correctly. All right, I don't think that video is going to finish. But the point of that video is Joe Biden went out to Michigan on Tuesday to a car plant, and he was trying out a couple new cars, and it looked mostly like casual conversation. And then when a reporter steps in and asks him a serious question on Israel, he then makes a joke about running that person over. And the sad part is how all of these reporters laughed. And we know that mainstream media, if Donald Trump had did this anytime, this would be days of outrage. And they're always going to bring it back to talk about again in the future. And it shows how much of hypocrisy that happens in the mainstream media when, well, we've seen the vast majority of people in the mainstream media do in the in this Biden administration is constantly run cover for the guy. This is not what journalism is supposed to be. And the only people who are covering Joe Biden without real bias mainly exist on the left. I've got another journalism related story later, but look how little Joe Biden has actually had to come out and do a press briefing at the White House. He's been able to be quiet most of the time outside of pre release quotes, some random videos, and tweets of him walking around hallways and doing nothing. Let's get into the other main video. Another video. Gotta get this video through. All right, I got to the important part of the video. Rashida Tlaib confronted Joe Biden about his plan to fund further more Israeli weapons. And this is what you get from him in return. He not once, not but twice, messes up her name in a way that misgenders her. Rashid, does that mean the ball don't lie? At Biden's age, he's showing a lot of moments where he fumbles his way through speeches, and this is another moment where he placates a congresswoman. But at the end of the day, he's still going to follow through on the whole pro is on being pro Israel, and that's just the truth about him. And that's really what the Biden administration has been about to this point, and that's placating the people, well, especially progressives, in order to get them to not fight and follow through on real actions. And we've got an update from Jeff Stein, one of the only people in corporate media who tells you about the inner workings. Scoop: White House budget will not include key Biden campaign pledges, such as the public option, prescription drugs reform, or student debt relief, per sources. White House squarely focused on $4 trillion in jobs and infrastructure, plus family plans. Next tweet: Biden administration officials had begun work to incorporate campaign proposals for the budget. White House decided budget will instead be no reflection of what has already been proposed: jobs plan, family plan, discretionary spending increases. The president's budget will focus on advancing the historic legislative agenda he already put forward this year. The budget won't propose other new initiatives. So let's. All right. Joe Biden ran a very conservative campaign. In fact, more conservative than anyone except maybe Mike Bloomberg. And there are only a few small positive things to come from his platform. And you had a lot of people telling you about his platform as a reason to vote for him, like would be a promise. So let's break down those few better things. First off, he said he was going to offer the public option as a alternative to Medicare for all who want it. While a lot of his voters weren't paying attention, he dropped the public option about 5 or 6 weeks before the election. See, this is why we have to, as people, act to the principles of using our own individual leverage against politicians. Because when they feel like they got your vote, they can renege on just about everything that they could possibly do. And the other one, student debt relief. Even though there's some people on the left who have said that he's been on the record as offering 25 or even $50,000 as debt cancellation per person. I think a lot of people get mixed up on it because it was Chuck Schumer who has tried to pull President Biden more towards the right spot on this issue by getting people more relief. Joe has only been on the record as promising 10,000. That's it. And what's infuriating is he started off in office doing a few small executive orders, trying to do a few of the things that happened in the Trump administration. But when it comes to when you try to tell him that he could cancel all student debt, all medical debt, enact Medicare for all just by the power of his own pen, he plays dumb and tells you that's not within my reach of power, or he acknowledges that, uh, I think it, well, it could be, I don't want it used against me in a bad way by Republicans. There's got to become a breaking point where you get people that start to use their power for good to the point where once Republicans take over again, that the public pressure will prevent them to counteracting that to their own interest. And that's the reason why they have not followed through on repealing the Affordable Care Act. And for as long as Roe versus Wade has been into power, that's the reason why they have never been able to follow through on repealing that either. And there's too often where Democrats refuse to use their power for good to counteract the Republican bad. And reasons like this is why you're going to see the House and Senate flip in the 2022 midterms, is because of politicians like Barack Obama, Joe Biden. They sit back and make excuses of why they can't get their milquetoast policies through when they've had the opportunity to. Don't forget the $15 minimum wage. Joe Biden talked a really good talk, especially during that final debate with Donald Trump. Talk is cheap. That may have been one of his shining moments during the debate. But when it came time to walk the walk, they hid behind the parliamentarian. They allowed 8 Democrats to vote against the $15 minimum wage while refusing to make it a simple majority. It's one thing if you're going to lose the $15 minimum wage while not gaining a single Republican vote and having full solidarity of your party. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, they refuse to get the whole party to fall in line. It's going to cost them. Let's get into what this focus sounds like. To me, it sounds like we got to force the people back to work for shitty wages. And one of the things they applaud themselves for is the amount of vaccinations that they have done up to this point. Keep in mind that full vaccination only lasts 3 months. Then you're going to have another spike in coronavirus sometime in August or September. Then the Biden administration, which is by and large adopted right-wing talking points in their response to COVID-19. They're going to largely ignore it, have people continue to work through outbreak because we are supposed to be beyond COVID-19. Probably try to force society to fight through it and push a lot of people into booster shots. And trust me, a lot less people who got both of these first 2 shots or if you got the single Johnson and Johnson, people just aren't going to follow through in that small of increments to maintain vaccination. And at the end of the day, you're going to see the House and Senate flip, and it will be easier for Joe Biden to sit back, do even more or nothing, and use the good old Republican excuse that your favorite recent Democratic politicians like to use for their inaction.